My name is Riaz Hassan, and on behalf of ISIS, I'd like to welcome you all to our seminar today on the role of Pakistan in strengthening global energy security, and also to extend a warm welcome to our speaker, Dr. Gulfaraz Ahmed. Dr. Gulfaraz Ahmed is CEO of Petroleum Exploration Private Limited. He is and has been a prominent figure in shaping Pakistan's energy policy, in planning, operations, management, and regulation through various offices he has held in Pakistan. And briefly, they were the Secretary of Pakistan Ministry of Petroleum and National Resources, Chairman and CEO of National Petroleum Company, Chairman of National Electrical Power Regulatory Authority, NEPRA. Everybody in Pakistan knows about it and has all kinds of things to say about it. Member of Nuclear Regulatory Board, member of National Finance Commission, and consultant to various national and international bodies. He's currently in private sector, and he's also involved in a number of businesses related to petroleum exploration and energy management and operations, both in Pakistan and in the Gulf in UAE. He's also an honorary professor at the Pakistan's National University of Science and Technology. Before I pass on to our distinguished speaker the opportunity to tell us about or talk to us, I just wanted to share with you, I just returned from Lahore after about 10 days. And the energy shortage is a way of life in Pakistan. It is affecting the daily lives of Pakistanis in very many significant ways. It is having a devastating effect on the industry, and as a result, I understand many industries are moving out of the country. And somebody told me to Bangladesh, which I didn't realize which I thought was also an energy deficit country. But just to give you my impression, I've been going back and forth to Lahore for many years, and there used to be a lot of beggars in the 50s and 60s. Then they went down quite dramatically. And then I was here last week. I noticed quite a number of beggars when you stop at the traffic lights. And I asked my colleagues, friends, why? And they said, because many factories have closed down, and they work only 2 out of 5 days or 6 days. So it is having a very major effect. I don't know whether that's true or not. I presume it is part of life, and it's partially true. But just to give you an idea how important the energy crisis is in Pakistan, how it's impacting daily life. But on a very positive side, when I was visiting my family members, the electricity will go off and children will say, oh, electricity gone off. So everybody's face will fall. And then after a few hours, we'll come back, they will all come jumping back in, oh, bijli aa gayi, electricity is coming. And I asked people, I said, what is the effect of it? And they said, there's a built-in happiness cycle in Pakistani life now. When electricity comes back, everybody seems happy. So at least there's a certain amount of energy shortage is creating a weird way of making people a little bit cheerful when it comes back. Anyway, today's topic is not about energy shortage in Pakistan, but Pakistan's role in energy security, global energy security. But I hope our distinguished speaker will also touch upon what's going to happen to future energy needs of Pakistan. To you.
Thank you. I think I'll probably manage the slides better from here. Mr. Riaz, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed my pleasure to be here first time at this university and get an opportunity to share some thoughts on a subject which is a common bridge in the world now, energy. In fact, before, no, I'll be able to change it. Okay. Yeah, we'll go back. Okay. Before I touch upon the subject, I'd like to share a sentiment now that I'm here in an academic environment. There is no doubt that knowledge today is becoming the paramount source of power. And the institutions like yours are now at the focus of harnessing that power. And it's said that nothing is as powerful than an idea whose time has come. It's all out there. And in academic institutions, you unleash that power by germinating the ideas. So it's a proud privilege to be in an environment where knowledge is the main business of exchange on a daily basis. How can Pakistan play a role, regional as well as global, strengthening energy security? It's not the size of Pakistan. It's also not a burgeoning economy. Now that Professor Riaz has given you a snapshot. It is also not the world Saudi Arabia in terms of source of energy. But there are a sum total of factors, and they associate mostly with the location, very strategic location of Pakistan. I would like to just give you a very cursory overview of the map centering on Asia, the heart of Asia, closer to Pakistan. And I put 4 ellipses there. One broadly covering the Middle East. Pakistan comes within the framework of the Middle East. One covering West Asia. Pakistan is part of West Asia. One covering South Asia. Pakistan is concurrently part of South Asia. And the 4th one covering the opening to Arabian Gulf, and Pakistan has 1,000 kilometers long coastline. So it is that almost Asian heartland. That is one reason why Pakistan can play a role, but not geographically alone. Because if you look at it, 60% or more than 60% reserves of oil and gas in the world remaining to be produced are centered within about 5 countries around the Persian Gulf. And that oil and now gas converted into LNG all has to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. And then 85% of that moves to the east, hugging the coast of Pakistan within 22 nautical miles of Pakistan's landmass. So that is one reason that it is a natural hub for energy. The other reason is looking at a page from history. Well before oil was a fuel, known to be a fuel, well before natural gas was discovered, millennia back, there was a trading route. And this red line that you see, those are the land routes, the old Silk Route. And the blue lines are the sea lines, or sea lanes, trading routes. Pakistan is connected with both the Silk Route as well as the sea route. This is a bridge between Europe and Asia, and Pakistan serves a critical location within that bridge. In fact, the bridge has now been further extended and improved, that other than the road link going through Central Asia, Afghanistan to Central Asia, it also now connects directly Pakistan with China. Now I like to, this is, for example, Pakistan is right here. This is a very old place, Taxila, which has been the center of Buddhist civilization. There is a 2,000 years old university at Taxila and other relics of Buddhist era. From Taxila, the road goes right up to Kashgar and then interconnecting with the Central Asian countries. This is the later page of history when the rail links came about, and the thicker red lines are the primary rail routes. And once again, Pakistan serves as a bridge between Asia or South Asia and Europe. Whereas the roads went north-south direction, the railway is cutting through in east-west direction. So whether you take the road links, whether you take the rail links, whether you take the sea links, and before the era of modern jet planes where they have more endurance, Karachi used to serve as a very important international airport where the refueling used to take place. So those are some of the reasons why Pakistan has a hub value, not only for energy but for general trade and communications. Now, before I come to the energy, I like to once again give you a blind look at very old history. The Indus Valley civilization, more than 5,000 years ago, covered nearly the whole of what is today's Pakistan. I would not like to go back, although very close to the capital, Islamabad in Pakistan, there is an archaeological find at a place called Gawadar, where they found signs of unbroken chain of human activity, 1.6 billion years old. And every time they looked at it, they thought it was an anomaly. Till the late 80s, 1980s, the new recognized history of development of the modern man extends to 1.9 million years, and Reward served as one of the last pieces of the jigsaw puzzle. And if you see April 97 National Geographic, Scientific American magazine, April 97, you see the scientific article of the development of modern man, and they have a 2-page article giving various locations in the world, but at the center is Reward, Pakistan. It pieced together the whole theory. So it's been older than the Indus Valley civilization to prehistory of over 1.5 billion years that people have lived in that part of the world. But I want to just draw only your attention to a very unique aspect of the history of the region of which Pakistan is part. There has been a very long chain of successive invasions by the Persians, the Greeks, the Scythians, Arabs, Afghans, and finally the British. This history of invasion and occupation has, over the period, tempered the people to hardy nature with the resilience to survive. I don't think we have comparable areas which have undergone so many invasions, some of them very brutal, over such a long period, till very late in history. In 1947, when the British left the subcontinent, the British India was divided into two independent states of Pakistan and India. But what followed, the scars of massive and often bloody intermigration, it soured the relationships at the very outset between the two fledgling neighboring states. They went to wars many times, and which pushed the region, Indo-Pakistan subcontinental region, to tension and as a result, economic backwardness. Positive base is now being securely laid for mutually as well as regionally beneficial and cooperative relations, opening the avenues of growing economic activity, especially the regional energy flows to fuel the development and economic growth. Pakistan is a populous country, although it is bounded by the world's greatest populous nation, China, followed by the second populous nation, India, but this itself has 190 million people. Looked at from the sentiment that I shared with you to begin with, that knowledge is a source of power. If the manpower can be made skillful and useful, human resource is a great source of power today. It can also be a liability if they are not as skilled or resourceful. So at least in terms of potential, 190 million people. The population is rather young. Average median age is 22 years. It has 10th largest workforce of over 60 million men and women. But it is relatively poor, only 55% literacy, and 22% people living below the poverty line, as defined globally. It has a significant untapped natural resource base along with the human resource that I just alluded to. But as I speak, Pakistan continues to bear the brunt of the frontline state of 11 years old raging war against terrorism. Whether Professor Riaz was able to capture the real sentiment that expresses the reality in Pakistan, it perhaps may be visible by the light coming on and off, but it is the burden that it's facing, war on terror. This war has caused unprecedented losses in life, property, infrastructure, resulting in an unbearable burden on economy. and ravaged peace and security throughout the length and breadth of the country. Last 3 days alone, the number of suicide blasts in the country numbered more than 50 in 3 days alone. In fact, what perhaps Professor Diaz was not able to see, people have got used to the power going off, and they got used to precious human losses in the same manner, because the fact that war and terror is having a conflict. We hope now that this war is coming to an end very soon. It's a very strange war. I can only say it is coming to an end. It's not coming to any conclusive end. Things would be the same as they started when the war started. But anyway, we do hope that once it comes to an end, there would be a page in human history that one would want to only refer to for drawing lessons, and then it will create a turn for Pakistan. Pakistan should have, by normal reckoning, gone totally under when it remained burning for the last 11 years. But we do hope that Pakistan has a tomorrow, and Pakistan of tomorrow, emerging from these challenges, will be a vibrant country and will be able to play its role in global economy, especially towards the global energy security. And I mostly address my comments about the potential of Pakistan to strengthen global energy security is in this spirit, Pakistan of tomorrow, because it would have learned a lot of lessons, would have paid a lot of sacrifices in Pakistan of today. Now, if you look at Pakistan's complexion of society, it is still an agrarian economy. More than 60% people still depend on farm. But look at, I just want to give you a snapshot. This is the commercial energy consumption by sectors, and I want to point out that this is the agriculture. It's agrarian economy, but the agriculture consumes less than 2% of the total energy consumed in Pakistan. I just want to leave this thought with you, how much potential there is for the growth in the economy of that country, which is essentially agrarian and consumes only less than 2% of energy. So that is the kind of potential it has. Professor Diaz alluded to the energy scene, and here I have thrown 3 curves. Primary energy supply and demand scenarios. The lowest one is historical. Pakistan's economy on an average has grown at 5% for a long time. The blue curve is 5% growth average. It's historical. But we need to grow at a higher rate, 6.5% at the very least, but hopefully 8%. So if the growth were to be 6.5% and 8%, you can see how much of demand. And incidentally, Pakistan is finding it difficult to supply this 5% growth rate. Our supply of energy stays short of the lowest curve, whereas our need is to grow at least this and preferably this. So there is a very difficult challenge before Pakistan today. And but what is the natural resource base in Pakistan? Some of this resource base is only to make Pakistan meet its energy needs. Some of it is a possible subject for export of energy. Pakistan has found very little oil. Over the history, only 1.1 billion, very little remains, less than 1/3. Natural gas has been lucky. It has discovered 57 TCF, and nearly half produced, half remaining. It has 40,000 megawatt of hydroelectric surveyed sites. It is producing 6,000, 4,000 are under construction, 30,000 megawatt of hydroelectricity is available as a potential resource where one needs to build the dams and power complex houses. According to the latest wind survey, it has 80,000 megawatt of wind power, 1,000 is under installation, and a whole lot of it still to be tapped. I may just say here that wind, some time back, was only a sort of minor source, but it has become commercially competitive with the thermal power, and therefore it is one of the fastest modern renewable under development, and therefore we do hope that we are able to take a better advantage of it. It has massive deposits of lignite coal, 185 million tons, which have been surveyed. 185 million tons. There's no doubt that lignite is not the best form of coal, but lignite can be used for power generation, for coal gasification, for space heating, and most importantly for biofuels like biodiesel. And if Pakistan can find a cost-effective way of bringing lignite coal, this huge world scale, rather a very high level of world scale lignite deposit, if we can convert it into coal gas, Pakistan has a potential of export base. It can be exported in the form of natural gas, or in the form of electricity, or in the form of LNG. Nuclear is a plan. Pakistan has planned to do 8,500 megawatt of nuclear 2030. It has only 1,000 megawatt producing, 700 under construction, and they're completing within 2 years, but it has 6,800 megawatt on drying out. There is a limitation of what Pakistan can get nuclear. Pakistan does not have an access to modern nuclear technology. And therefore, it only depends on sharing the technology with China, a long time all-weather friend, and Chinese have as yet not developed 600 or 1,000 megawatt power indigenous technology, and we're both working on it. So it's a long way off before we will be able to make economies of scale nuclear plants of 1,000 megawatt. Solar, it has abundant solar resource, and the solar power today is essentially a niche source, which far-flung areas where you don't have the transmission lines, you can use solar, but it does not compete with the rest of the thermal or wind, but nevertheless, the cost is reducing. So this is the energy resource base Pakistan has, which can make Pakistan self-reliant in energy, and also to an extent a contributor to the world energy resource through export. Today, Pakistan imports nearly 1/3 of the total energy it consumes, so it draws on the international energy. But I'm sure that very soon, if looking ahead, in 10 years' time, Pakistan will be self-reliant in energy, whether it's through the lignite coal, or whether it is through wind, or whether it is through the hydroelectricity. And in 10 years' time, to become self-reliant, that is, relieve the stress on the world of 1/3 of its present import, and later on be able to export. A word I want to say about Pakistan's primary energy mix, the sources of primary energy. There's something uniqueness about the mix, and I want, first of all, nearly 50% of the primary energy mix comes from natural gas. Natural gas is indigenous, and natural gas is environmentally clean fuel. There are only two other countries who have slightly higher percentage of natural gas in the primary energy mix, and that's Russia, with the largest gas reserves in the world, followed by Iran with the second largest gas reserves. We have 21st largest gas reserves in the world, but we have the third largest user of natural gas in terms of percentage of the energy mix. I just want to say, and this 27% is what is the import oil that it drains our economy. Then we have a very little contribution from coal, less than 7%. Nearly 24.7% is the world average, but ours is only 7%. So if you look at half natural gas, hydroelectricity nearly 12%, this is one of the cleanest energy mix in the world, environmentally speaking. So there is something uniqueness about the Pakistan energy mix, but the importance of natural gas. How are we able to use natural gas to the extent of 50% of the total energy mix? It does take painstaking, expensive, spread over a long time infrastructure of gas pipelines, transmissions, distribution, utilization, and the consumption cultures. Let's look at the global fuel mix, or the global primary energy mix. And we're looking at the two time slices, 1990 real, 2030 projected. In 1990, the most predominant source of energy was oil, about 39%. In 2030, it's massively coming down to 27% global. Natural gas was only 21.8% and is substantially going up to 26%. Natural gas is, to a great extent, substituting for oil. Coal nearly maintaining its position, hydroelectricity slight increase, but another major increase is the renewable. From 0.4% the global energy mix in 1990, it's going up to 6.4%. So there are two main fuels gaining substantial increase in contribution as well as in significance, and those are the renewables. And talking about renewables, this is wind, biofuels, and the solar, and natural gas. So natural gas is emerging as a very important source of energy. In the past, in 1990, natural gas essentially was moved and used as natural gas. Today, more than 10% of the total gas produced in the world is traded as LNG. So new modes of transportation and utilization of natural gas are coming up. Looking at natural gas, there was a time, about 15 to 20 years, when we used to say natural gas is the fuel of 21st century. No more. Natural gas is at best a fuel of transition to modern renewables of 21st century. There's a good news, hopefully, that before the 21st century closes, the world would have nearly concentrated only on modern renewables as major systems for energy. The rest of the very polluting sources of fossil fuels would have greatly reduced. But then this is the, you saw that it's gaining very fast. It's a primary fuel, and it will give the world a relief by taking it from fossil fuel-based commercial energy to modern renewables. That bridge will serve. Why? One, it's cleaner. It's abundant, especially with the exploitation of now shale gas. It is cost competitive rather cost attractive. The only limitation was highly infrastructure dependent, but the technology is catching up. And with the LNG and the floating storage and regasification technologies, even the infrastructure needs are now diminishing. Another reason why natural gas is important, here I've given you the relative costs of generating power in terms of US cents per kilowatt hour and all competing technologies, and the lowest cost of generation is from natural gas when you use the combined cycle gas turbines. So not only that natural gas is cheaper, not only that it's cleaner, not only that it is very progressive, it also generates electricity, which is the most versatile way of using energy. It gives you the least cost generation of electricity. So natural gas is truly becoming now the centerpiece of energy. And my effort would be essentially to highlight the role of natural gas, the role of Pakistan in promoting the global energy. If you look at this is 2010 slice, natural gas, global production, its use and exports. 70% of the natural gas was consumed where it was produced within the country. Remaining 30% was exported. 10 years before, 21% went through pipelines, 9% went as LNG. Today, 2 years later, it is 10 to 11% of the natural gas being produced is trading as energy, growing pretty fast. Now I want to give you a snapshot geographical. Persian Gulf countries, to which I alluded, that they have over 60% of global reserves of not only oil, but also natural gas. I call Persian Gulf countries as a global energy storehouse, as if the Almighty has stored the energy for the rest of the world in that region, which incidentally has been baking under the equatorial sun for millennia, but it has been compensated. Where do you see them? This map has two kind of colors, shades. The darker ones are oil fields and the lighter one are gas fields. And you see all centered around the Persian Gulf or within the Persian Gulf. Over 60% of the total reserves of oil and gas are there. So that is the importance or overriding importance, the paramount importance of the source countries, Persian Gulf. But then how does it come out? It only comes out through the Strait of Hormuz. And Hormuz is very much in the picture today because of the tensions between Iran and Israel and the United States. What is happening in the Strait today? 20 billion barrels of oil, which includes 2 million barrels of LNG equivalent, flows daily through this very narrow Strait of Hormuz. And because of insecurity, because of the congestion, already the international freight is very high. It is the largest energy choke point in the world. It's also perhaps very insecure choke point. So how can the future of the world are the global energy. This again another way of showing these are the green are the oil pipelines gathering system to the ports where they are exporting the oil. So this is the choke point, Strait of Hormuz, right here, connecting the Persian Gulf with the Gulf of Oman, which opens into Arabian Sea, which further opens into Indian Ocean. 20 million barrels of oil and gas alone leave the Gulf on daily basis, passes through Strait of Hormuz on daily basis. The loaded ships are going and the empty ships are coming. It's a constant streaming oil tanker traffic. But when it enters the Gulf of Oman, well clear of the choking effect, Pakistan has built a new deep sea port at a place called Gawadar. Now when this oil and LNG comes out from the strait into the Gulf, then it bifurcates. More than 85% takes eastern route. It's bound for the eastern markets, like starting with India and then all the far eastern markets, Japan, Korea, Taiwan, and whatsoever. And the remaining 15% turns south because it's westbound and it will wheel around the Cape. Right at this point, when we come out of the Gulf, we have this resource, Gawadar. Gawadar can serve as a place, deep sea port, where we can build storages and loading terminals for all the oil, which is beyond the physical capacity of the Strait of Hormuz. Looking ahead, we can bring the subsea pipelines through the shallow water of Persian Gulf and set up international storages and terminals at Gawadar. So when the volume of traffic starts going above the Strait of Hormuz, then Gawadar can serve as an additional capacity outside the externalities of Gawadar. It can help the oil exporting countries and it can help the oil importing countries, and that is the issue of the global energy security. This is the Gawadar deep sea port, which has been built. Here is the deep sea terminal. In fact, very large crude oil ships, like 500,000 barrels, can be handled in the deep sea port. And this is a beautiful, this is just like a edge of the hammer, which are generally configurations of good seaports, natural seaports, that the proposed storages and refineries can be built here, export-based, and maybe even free international petroleum terminal. And in that role, if Pakistan does provide free international petroleum terminal, Pakistan has provided a solution to the congestion uncertainty of Strait of Hormuz and directly strengthening the global energy security where it's most exposed. Now coming back to the natural gas, which I in a way projected as the main source of the energy in this next 2-3 decades. Pakistan has the ability. Why Pakistan has the ability to serve as a natural gas hub? Because the sources of natural gas, exportable sources of natural gas, they lie to the west, countries like Iran, which have the second largest gas reserves in the world. They lie in the west to Qatar, which has the fourth largest gas reserves in the world. Those are the marketable sources. Or they lie to the north, Turkmenistan, which has the third largest gas reserves in the world. So the sources of exportable gas are either to the west of Pakistan or to the north of Pakistan. And the markets are either in Pakistan or to the east of Pakistan, India, which is a very large growing gas market. To an extent, also China, because although China has built a pipeline only last year from Turkmenistan to China, but if India has to take advantage of gas in Iran or in Qatar, it still has to go to Pakistan. So Pakistan is a natural intermediary for flow of gas, whether through land pipelines or subsea pipelines between the sources in the west and north to the markets in the east. That makes it a natural intermediary. In that configuration, it serves the role of strengthening the regional energy security and then accordingly the global energy security. What are the pipelines that I try to, this is just a sketch at the moment, but this is a pipeline from Iran. It is called Iran-Pakistan pipeline. This pipeline is under construction. From the gas field here up to Pakistan's border, it is about 1100 kilometers. 950, 960 kilometers have been completed. A remaining 150, 140 kilometers is under advanced stage of construction. Then there is only 785 kilometers from this border up to a town Pakistan here, Nawabshah, and that is under advanced stage. The route surveys have been done, route optimization has been done, the designs have been finalized, the materials are building, and the pipeline laying is yet to start. But it shouldn't take more than 2 years to complete. Today, we have a deadline that this pipeline should have the first gas through in December 2014. There are penalties if either of the two parties, Pakistan and Iran, are unable to meet that deadline. This pipeline will go eventually to India. There is a provision for that. In fact, there was a tripartite project, India, Pakistan, Iran, and when America offered India an alternative source of energy, the access to modern nuclear technology, if India dropped the pipeline for the time being, they did, but I'm sure they want to pick it up after having absorbed the nuclear technology. So that is one lifeline that will bring the gas from a country that is the second largest reserve in the world, needs markets, and the two most needy markets. But there is also a potential that this pipeline, right from Nawabshah, from where it was, from here where it go to India, it can also go to China, and there are preliminary considerations for the Iran. It doesn't have to be the same pipeline. Once one pipeline has been laid, another pipeline can be just laid in parallel to that, because most of the work having been done in the on the first pipeline. The second gas pipeline is from Turkmenistan, which I told you is the third largest gas reserve in the world, and this is the purple line. This is the shortest gas pipeline, only 1400 miles from the fields in Turkmenistan to Pakistan. This pipeline is also called TAPI, Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and India, and fortunately, India is part of this project in its planning stage. There is a significance of Turkmenistan gas over and above that of Iran. Turkmenistan is a landlocked country. It cannot export that gas as LNG. And therefore, bringing landlocked gas into the use of the liquid markets is again another way of strengthening the global energy security. There is also this green line is the oil line, and there is a thinking that from Kazakhstan, where they have very large deposits of oil, particularly around the Caspian area, it may be possible that the Kazakhstan oil pipeline with Uzbekistan, which already exists, it may be connected down, brought down to Pakistani deep sea port, Pasni, in addition to Gawadar, where they could export. And once again, giving an outlet to landlocked oil, because the only other way that this oil can be exported is through the Caspian Sea, where it is highly restrictive capacity, again contributing to the world energy security. Now, I also want to share with you gas transportation, means of transportation. Either these are pipelines, and there are two kinds, onshore, on-land pipelines, and offshore.
I was wondering if we could wrap it up. We need some time
Oh,
for
okay. Onshore, and then the LNG. But if you look at, if the distance of gas to be carried is more than 4,000 kilometers, LNG is the cheapest transportation. Below that, the on-land pipelines. And what Pakistan offers, essentially, are direct on-land pipelines. Therefore, cost of transportation is going to be very low. Then why should Pakistan and India, or for that matter China, integrate the markets in the pipelines? Because the transportation cost is a function of economies of scale. This is how the unit cost of transportation goes down as the pipeline capacity increases. So it is win-win for all. While, if you just look at the last 7 or 8 years, the projected 2015, the regional demand for natural gas from the level of 2010 to the level of 2015, it would become almost 5-fold increase. That is the demand from, starting demand from China, building up very fast from India in red color, and within Pakistan. So regionally, the natural gas demand is exploding, but fortunately there are solutions within the region, and that's where it has the implication. The last comment I may just throw, it is not that we are only a potential hub for energy, we are also potential hub for trade, because we are a land bridge between Asia and Europe, and between Central Asian countries and Russia to the north, because we don't want to coexist. So to conclude, that Pakistan is definitely known to be a country full of challenges, which it is. It is in the bad press in the world because of all the instabilities, all the war and terror implications, all the energy outages, other things. But as I said, that I'm looking at Pakistan of tomorrow. And since energy is the key factor for the development of the world, the security of the world, the prosperity of the world, Pakistan can play a role towards easing global energy far in excess of its otherwise size of population or size of economy. Thank you very much.
My apologies for interrupting.
No, that one is quite used to this. You have to. You have to.
Yeah. I think we wanted to leave some time so we could have some questions.
Sure.
And thank you for the fascinating overview of the role of Pakistan in global energy needs and how it can play an important role. I must, I'm reading a book by Anatole Lavin, I think, Pakistan, the Hard Country. I don't know whether you have been, and I'm very pleased to say that part of it is actually relies on the director of this institute, Professor Tan Taeyong. And he begins it, the subtitle of the book is Pakistan, Hard Country, and he uses Galileo's phrase when he looked at the universe, and he said, and yet it moves. And I think the point he makes is that Pakistan, in spite of all the problems that people think it has, it's still working. And I think all you have to do is go to Pakistan and you'll be surprised, the vibrancy and the life, you know, that goes on and everything that makes that to happen. But the question I wanted to, while it was open for question to the audience, but I just wanted to start. I think my main question would be, given the insecurity of Pakistan and Pakistan faces now, for all the reasons that you have mentioned, how reliable or dependable are your estimates in terms of meeting the various signposts that you have indicated in making Pakistan an energy hub?
Well, I try to relate the substance of the potential with the sentiment of Pakistan of tomorrow. Those potentials are hard realities. They're physical potentials. They're geographical and infrastructural realities. Those don't change, but the things like insecurity, tension. And therefore, it is like intentions and capacities. The world over, there is a practice that when the nations, they estimate strategic threats to them, they look at the capacity and they look at the intention. But in real sense, in order to prepare them for all eventualities, concentrate only on the potentials, the realities, the capacities. Those are hard realities, the fundamentals. The rest, the world is now, there is no doubt that it's in every passing reference we say it's a global village. But let's say global village, that is, the more that the global village draws closer, the more cooperative it becomes. The more aware it becomes of the existence of poverty and need for prosperity, the more they think of energy. So in that sense, with the potential that I mapped for you, and the way it will help the regional countries and global energy goals, those things should work as drivers on individual countries and regional countries and global cooperations to bring out the optimality for the benefit of the humanity in global energy security enhancement.
Thank you very much. Oh, other questions?
A few points here, Dr. Thank you very much for that. I was very happy to note that the Iran-Pakistan pipeline is progressing, and I guess one of the ways to secure energy would be let it go to India. Let them use gas and free up some of the going oil. You mentioned Gawadar as a hub, but recently Abu Dhabi has put up a pipeline from Abu Dhabi to Fujairah. And of course, this was sold to them by scaring them that the Iranians would block up the Hormuz. And they are building huge terminals there. So what chance does Gawadar stand against Fujairah, which has been which is naturally connected?
There is that's a very important development. Abu Dhabi only exports 3 million barrels of oil. This pipeline will carry only 1/3 of their export capacity. The Strait of Hormuz still serves as the most choked oil terminal point in the world. So it's not going to be able to it's not going to be possible that the Strait of Hormuz can be bypassed. It's not going to be possible. Today you are having 20 million barrels go through the strait. 5 years later it will be 23, 24 million barrels. So that increase if they can provide alternative means for taking up the increase, the potential increase from Hormuz, even that would be achieved. So those are also hard realities. Saudi Arabia, for example, has a pipeline to the south, the port of Aden. So the capacity is only 3-4 million barrels. Saudi Arabia exports more than 10 million barrels. So sum total state still remains very focused, very critical. I'm sure it's closer to you because you've been a mercantile person.
Yeah, and I'd like to point it out that, being captain of the VLCC, 20 million barrels translates to, if I put it in an average size of vessel, it means 15 ships.
But I would ask you this thing, a lot of countries still import in 60,000 tons also. So the point is that there is a whole plethora of ships. When they're going to travel from Persian Gulf to perhaps Japan, then they would rather like to have both. The capacity is large at the distance, the VLCCs, but it goes in all places. So as sum total, you would know the congestion that takes place. There are only 2 lanes, one way going and one way coming, and they are very narrow, those deep sea lanes. So I'm not going to go into the physicalities, but there are limitations. And even today you would know that the freight increase because of the congestion, because of insecurity, because of the insurances is considerable.
I think 2 questions. Why don't we have 2 questions? First Shanti and then.
I was particularly curious about the Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India pipeline, the feasibility of that pipeline. There have been a couple of road shows which have occurred. But on the other hand, the fact that the Iran-Pakistan pipeline is also going to take forth in the way of actually operationalizing it. Just wondering if you have done any kind of a cost and benefit analysis of which is more feasible, the IPI pipeline or the TAPI pipeline? And given the fact that there is instability in Pakistan, how much will this pipeline help in bringing peace to the country?
If you go back to another part of the world, there was a pipeline under gestation between Bolivia and Brazil. It remained in gestation for 15 years. It's flowing. Because the fundamentals were there. There was a source of gas, there was a need of gas, and it could be pipeline connected. So one has to look at those things in a slightly different context than the passing waves of the current insecurities. I think if a pipeline did come about through Afghanistan, that will itself catalyze peace in Afghanistan. And if Afghanis start looking towards their own development, then the benefit they're going to get. I was Federal Secretary of Petroleum. I negotiated with Afghanistan and brought them on board in the late 90s. We offered them a few exclusive benefits. Number 1, we said that you have some natural gas along the route of the pipeline. It can't be taken to Kabul, the main market, because of the intervening mountains. So I said, we'll put that gas into this pipeline. It was coming through a valley in the west, and keep delivering to 3 main towns en route to you. And we will not charge you the transmission cost for that. Yes. And whatever you can't consume, and if you want, we will export it for you. They came on board. They saw the economic advantage. Plus, we offered them very handsome the transition fee. So Afghanistan does see its benefit. They can't get this through any other means. They will be on board. As far as India is concerned, this pipeline to India is only 2,100 kilometers to New Delhi market. I have done lots of studies. In fact, I authored a report, UNDP report, titled Peace and Prosperity Gas Pipelines in 2004, where I worked out 7 possible options for India to serve North Indian market around New Delhi. The pipeline coming from Turkmenistan was nearly half the transmission cost. So it benefits every country. the gas that goes through Pakistan to India, Pakistan gets some transition fee. The gas that passes through Afghanistan, the whole of it, they get the transition. They get their needs served. So it is a win-win situation for all. It's a very short pipeline. To New Delhi is 2,000 kilometers. To our energy hub, it's 1,400 kilometers. So from that point of view, the fundamentals are strong. And Afghans will see the point. I think the current phase of war and terror is creating the insecurity, but the feasibilities have been done by Asian Development Bank, and it's very feasible.
And in case of a competing pipeline like the IPI, which would
There is, as far as Pakistan is concerned, Pakistan has capacity in the next 20 years to have 4 pipelines. We are aiming at doubling these pipelines, putting additional pipelines along. So it is, the capacity is not issue. Our markets, market of India, market of Pakistan, market of China, cannot be saturated by even 2 pipelines if we can get as much of gas as is available, because once the pipeline is laid, then in the right of way, putting a second pipeline, it's just a matter of only time. Because all of the hurdles, political hurdles, technical hurdles, financial hurdles would have been overcome. The fruits of the pipelines would be visible. It will further catalyze and incentivize further cooperation. So there is no end in sight. I'm very optimistic about it. Time it takes. I gave you the example of 15 years. Bolivia, Brazil. It's a reality. And these pipelines have been less than 15. If 15 does become some reckonable sort of yardstick.
So this would be the last question because we have limitations on this lecture table. Please, go ahead.
Two questions really about the absence of politics from your talk. As we've mentioned, the Pakistan of tomorrow that is blessedly free of sectarian tension, and the war on terror has disappeared, and the provincial rivalries have now gone. And you describe yourself as being optimistic, and I think other judgments would range from is that really realistic or not. But the point is that you've talked about Pakistan, but you've also linked it to Pakistan and Iran, and you've mentioned America in the same context. If you're going to talk about the Iran-Pakistan pipeline and its non-progress in the missing segment that links to Pakistan, the relationship America has with Pakistan is crucial there. And similarly, if we're talking about the Tapi pipeline, the fact that it runs through Afghanistan, we're also assuming an Afghanistan of tomorrow and an Iran of tomorrow, where these relationships are now to a state where such can progress. And further, that either the Pakistani component or the Indian component would be willingness for an inter-alliance that would, for crucial energy resources to pass through that region. And the second quick thing I wanted to ask you, as I understand you have had some specific experience with Balochistan in terms of negotiations between the center and provinces about the distribution of sort of benefits accruing from the national resource exploitation. Whether you could suggest whether the 18th Amendment and National Finance Award, Commission Award, give you any grounds for some of this optimism as to how those other gas reserves, particularly Balochistan.
Thank you very much. These are very crucial questions, and they cannot be in any manner either marginalized or ignored. Yes, I have been associated with Balochistan, having represented them in the National Finance Commission twice, 6th National Finance Commission and 7th, and concluded the award for them. I had a feeling that the way we brought Afghanistan on board by giving some special incentives to them, those would be available of Balochistan. These are very tough political circumstances. You talk about sectarian violence, but they're at the heart of it. Is what Dr. Riaz said. People by the roadside begging to come to stop. It's the abject count. People don't see a future. Probably the sectarian tensions are other killings that go on, are also related with the lack of future, poverty, lack of education. So I alluded to, that's why one of the latest sentiments I shared, because in intangible was that the history probably has tempered these people to survive all the challenges. This is no less a challenge. Nay, it's more chances are they will survive. There was a bomb blast about 250 yards away from my house. One of our workers was seriously injured. And my children who were in London, they came to know that. They said, oh, they first thought it's very close to our home. It is 250 yards away. This is exactly the point. So there's no doubt that if you go by today, it's very hard, very, very hard. It's very difficult to see that we'll see through these difficulties. We are still slipping. To come out of the precipice is a miracle. But there is some chance to support that miracle than not to support it. And so when the intangibles like the insecurities within the region and in Pakistan might be under control, the tangibles that exist will become more visible. I only said that 5 years from now, Pakistan should work towards self-sufficiency in energy. 10 years from now, some exportability. But as far as the hub is concerned, it is coming about faster than. I also, I want to say this thing that I failed to mention, that whereas Singapore is in a kinship in this topic, Singapore is assuming to be an energy hub in the Far East or in Asia Pacific. And there will probably be some synergy between Pakistan as happened and Singapore. I could have gone and expounded some of those things, but there's no time.
This has been a very illuminating talk. I have learned a lot. I must admit, single-handedly, my knowledge of energy, source of energy and energy future has gone up by 10%. Thank you so very much. And would you please join me in thanking you?
Thank you very much.
And thank you for coming. And as part of our, we can't really give a great deal, but we have one of the authors of this book. And may I, on behalf of the Institute, may I offer you some present?
Thank you very much, Madam D'Souza. I'm sure it will be a very interesting reading. I see a few fighters on the cover page, so it'll probably carry the flavors that exist in the subcontinent.